Imagine Paris in 1677, a city of guilt and shadow. Louis XIV, the Sun King, rules from Versailles, yet the court's poisonous intrigues spill into the capital's narrow streets. Fashionable salons glitter on Rue Saint-Honoré and Place des Vosges as aristocrats jockey for favor, promotions, and royal pensions. Social rivalry sharpens appetites for secret remedies. Lead hidden in brooches, elixirs whispered to silence a rival, and occult services offered as pragmatic cures. Catholic piety coexists with clandestine astrology, necromancy, and folk magic. Parish priests preach while apothecaries sell herbal remedies like foxglove and corrosive compounds. Into this febrile city steps Catherine Montvoisin, known as La Voisin, born around 1640 and operating from a salon near the Faubourg Saint-Germain. Charismatic and persuasive, she reads cards and casts horoscopes, but she also peddles poisons and abortifacients and assembles a wide network of accomplices, dealers, midwives, priests, even executioners' aides. By 1677, her clientele stretches from minor nobles to wealthy bourgeois and desperate wives. She sells powders, bottles of arsenic and mercury, and arranges black masses she claims will bind a lover or destroy an enemy. Rumors of her services ripple through taverns and courtyards. Some whisper that high-born women visit her. The city hums with expectation and dread, setting the stage for arrests that will explode in 1679 and reach the glittering court itself. In 1679, the city's whispers hardened into arrests that cracked Paris open. Early that year, Lieutenant General of Police Nicolas de la Reynie ordered searches and detentions after several low-level suspects, street apothecaries, midwives, and a handful of desperate clients were rounded up in the Faubourg Saint-Germain and the Latin Quarter on suspicion of selling poisons and abortifacients. Under pressure, arrested women like Marie Bosset and Marguerite Joly revealed meetings, payments, and routes of supply. Those small confessions pointed straight to a larger operation run from a salon where Catherine Montvoisin, known as La Voisin, kept regular appointments and maintained a ledger of transactions. When police raided her house in Paris, they seized charred receipts, boxes of corrosive powders, bottles stained with mercury and arsenic, and hand-bound account books that mapped clients and prices like a grim trade ledger. The inventories cataloged spells, apothecary recipes, and talismans alongside sharp instruments and bloody rags used in clandestine rites. Investigators found evidence of arrangements for black masses, clandestine ceremonies invoking demonic pacts, and notes describing ceremonies alleged to have been performed by the defrocked priest Etienne Guibourg. As pages were translated and witnesses identified, officials reached a terrifying realization. Poison was not random murder, but a commodified service sold to the elite. Receipts and witness statements tied purchases to officers, bourgeois creditors, and, in later interrogations, names that brushed the royal household. News of seized ledgers and macabre charms leapt from police files into taverns and salon gossip, turning rumor into documented horror. Subscribe. It's cheaper than a poison plot. The public shock was immediate. Journals and pamphlets spoke of ritual, blood, and bargains with the devil in the heart of Paris. Arrests continued, momentum quickened, and La Reynie's investigators began tracing a tangled web of sellers, priests, and nobles that would push the scandal toward Versailles and the highest circles of power. Interrogations intensified over the winter of 1679 to 1680 as La Reynie's jailers pressed suspects with relentless questioning and, in many cases, torture. Under that pressure, the prison walls began to disgorge a catalog of ritual horrors. Marie Bosset, Marguerite Joly, and Françoise Filastre described rooms lit by guttering candles where crucifixes were inverted and consecrated hosts were pierced and smeared with unholy substances. Witnesses swore that altars were desecrated and that prayers were intoned backward by a defrocked priest, Etienne Guibourg. Seized and questioned in early 1680, Guibourg admitted to celebrating black masses in cramped private chapels in Paris and, at times, in houses near Versailles, performing ceremonies that mixed blasphemous Latin with obscene sexual rites. Testimony from midwives and apprentices, names recorded in police dossiers, spoke of aborted fetuses and newborns taken from alleys or private chambers, bodies hidden in trunks, and rituals in which infant blood was alleged to have been offered as a binding ingredient. Those allegations were repeated under oath by Lavoisin's own daughter and by Catherine Trianon, who detailed payments, schedules, and the names of women who attended nocturnal gatherings. The ledger seized from Lavoisin became a map of depravity. Entries for powders and elixirs sat beside penciled notes referencing messes noires and the priest Guibourg's fees. Most explosive were a string of witness statements dated in the police register, asserting that Françoise Athénée de Rochechouart, Marquise de Montespan, the king's official mistress, had consulted Lavoisin for love philtres and for rites intended to secure Louis XIV's affection. That name transformed the affair from a criminal underworld into a threat that pierced the mirror of courtly splendor. Gossip hardened into a formal inquiry as investigators realized the network reached beyond apothecaries and midwives into salons and possibly the royal household. The reports, preserved in the archives and whispered in Versailles, set the investigators on a collision course with power and forced the scandal toward the royal threshold, laying the groundwork for the dramatic confrontations to follow. By early 1680, public panic had become political contagion. Pamphlets hawked lurid tales of inverted crucifixes and infant blood. Parisian crowds demanded answers, and the image of the king began to tremble. Louis XIV faced a brutal calculation. A public trial would expose intimate court depravity and shred the monarchy's moral standing, while secrecy risked making the crown look like it was sheltering guilt. To contain the rot, he leaned on the tools of absolutist control. Officers under Nicolas de la Reynie coordinated with royal counselors to funnel the most explosive cases into closed channels. A special chamber was convened to process poisoning and occult accusations, and lettres de cachet became surgical instruments for removing names from the tabloids and sending suspects to the Bastille, Voisin'S, and other shadowed prisons. Interrogations took place in rooms thick with fear. Prisoners were isolated, questioned by magistrates and clerics, and frequently subjected to judicial torture that produced grotesque confessions and later recantations. Witnesses such as Marguerite Joly and Marie Bosse whispered bargains for leniency, supplying client lists that pointed toward Versailles. The seizure of ledgers and confessions threatened to drag Françoise Athénée de Montespan into daylight. The marquise's name turned rumor into a political crisis. Rather than stage a spectacle that could sully the king, Louis ordered her case handled privately. Secret examinations and episcopal inquiries replaced a public indictment. At the same time, the state staged show trials to calm the streets. Lavoisin was condemned and on February 22, 1680, executed in Paris at the Place de Grève. Her body burned amid a ravenous public hunger for retribution. Her death was both a gruesome spectacle and a calculated message. The crown would eradicate poison and ritual, but only on terms that preserved royal dignity. As arrests multiplied and dossiers thickened, fear curdled into paranoia. Salons whispered, servants glanced over shoulders, and the court prepared damage control. The machinery of concealment ground faster, steering the scandal toward a hidden reckoning that would bring humiliations, secret reckonings, and an explosive climax. Lavoisin's arrest, foreshadowed by raids in 1679, ended in a brutal public spectacle in early 1680 that both satisfied and horrified Parisians. On February 22, 1680, at the Place de Grève, the condemned Catherine Montvoisin, known as Lavoisin and about 40 years old, was dragged from a fetid cell to a scaffold as a ravenous crowd clamored for flesh and retribution. Her sentence was burning at the stake, carried out amid choking smoke and the metallic stench of charred cloth. Officials later reported her body consumed and her ashes scattered in what they presented as a civic exorcism to purge poison and demonic rumor from the streets. During the proceedings, magistrates paraded seized ledgers, shocking receipts, and the grotesque confessions taken from Marguerite Joly, Marie Bosset, and the defrocked priest Etienne Guibourg, presenting statements obtained under torture as proof of ritual depravity. Yet as the flames licked and the crowd howled, the monarchy acted differently. Louis XIV and his ministers moved quickly to muzzle the scandal. Instead of open trials that might name Françoise Athénée de Rochechouart, Marquise de Montespan, or expose Versailles, the crown relied on lettres de cachet, secret imprisonments at the Bastille and Vincennes, and private ecclesiastical inquiries. La Voisin'S burning thus became both a public catharsis and a deliberate obfuscation. The state administered visible vengeance while quietly smothering the deeper contagion at court. After La Voisin's execution on February 22, 1680, the affair did not end. Instead, it became a long, secret purge. Nicolas de la Reynie used lettres de cachet to lock suspects away in the Bastille and Vincennes, while the Chambre Ardente, created in 1679, was quietly wound down by 1682 to avoid public spectacle. The public displays of terror, burned ledgers and charred receipts, gave way to invisible punishments, secret interrogations, judicial torture, ecclesiastical inquiries, and detention. Those methods set procedural precedents for state secrecy. Networks of apothecaries, midwives, and fortune-tellers were shattered. Black masses and poison rings were driven underground or dissolved. The stain on Louis XIV's reign endured. The whisper of Françoise Athénée de Montespan's alleged involvement haunted Versailles and eroded the monarchy's moral authority. Pamphlets, memoirs, and histories preserved grotesque images and kept alive a paranoid fear of magic and poisoning. The affair closed with ashes on the scaffold but left a darker lesson. Power can smother truth without erasing the rot beneath.